Hello there and welcome to this week's video lecture. This week we will be exploring the idea of sustainable leadership. Just to recap, last week we looked at three key leadership approaches. Servant leadership, which emphasises putting others first and supporting their growth. Ethical leadership, which is grounded in integrity, fairness and doing the right thing. And authentic leadership, which focuses on being genuine, self-aware and consistent in values and actions. Together, these perspectives remind us that effective leadership is built on trust, responsibility and a commitment to people. Before we move forward, I'd like you to pause and think about sustainability. What does that word mean to you personally? For some, it might be about the environment and protecting natural resources. For others, it could connect to long-term business practices, community well-being, or even personal responsibility. There isn't one single definition, so I want you to reflect on your own understanding. How would you describe sustainability in your own words? And why do you think it matters? This slide highlights why it really pays to be sustainable. Since the pandemic, studies such as Accenture's estimate that around 60% of people are more concerned with making environmentally friendly purchases. That means consumers are more likely to choose organisations that show a real commitment to using natural resources responsibly. This doesn't just attract shoppers. It also strengthens a business's reputation with stakeholders, local communities, and even government. There are also clear financial benefits. By focusing on energy efficiency, supply chains, and resource use, organisations can reduce costs and improve their bottom line. Research, even from banks like ING in the Netherlands, shows that sustainable firms often carry less debt and actually outperform in the market. Sustainability also impacts people inside the organisation. A healthier workplace with good lighting, ventilation and ergonomic design can improve morale and reduce stress. Plus, sustainable businesses are often more committed to fair treatment of employees, offering fair pay and ethical conditions. Finally, sustainable organisations tend to be more engaged in corporate social responsibility, giving back to their communities, building goodwill, and strengthening local ties. This is all part of what we call sustainable value creation, the ability to create value for all stakeholders by balancing environmental, social and governance challenges, while still ensuring profitability. It's not just about economic returns, it's also about ecological and social impact. Sustainability in organisations has developed from the broader concerns of people and governments about the future of our planet. Today, it is often used as a catch-all term that encompasses areas such as carbon management, plastic reduction, supply chain management and recycling. In recent years, particularly since the pandemic, we have seen a renewed focus on sustainability in organisational practices. The pandemic shifted consumer behaviour, with shoppers becoming more conscious about their choices and increasingly demanding responsible business practices. Sustainable organisations generally adopt a long-term perspective in their commitment to protecting the environment. They actively ask themselves what strategies they can implement to minimise harm while promoting meaningful environmental change. These organisations are sensitive to the complexity of the natural world and recognise that, like nature, they must be fluid and open to change. Just as natural systems experience periods of stability and disruption, businesses must also be able to adapt. This mindset often leads organisations to embrace new technologies as a way to remain creative, innovative, and responsive to evolving sustainability needs. By being flexible and open to change, they can integrate sustainability into their core operations rather than treating it as an afterthought. Increasingly, companies and investors alike are recognizing sustainability not only as a moral imperative, but also as a strategic priority. In doing so, they show a genuine concern for their impact on the world while positioning themselves for long-term success. Please see Activity 1 on Aula under the Activity Materials tab. In the past, modern management practices often enabled organisations to behave in ways that damaged the natural environment and threatened the very systems that support life. Gladwin et al., 2005. This short-term approach prioritised efficiency and profit over long-term sustainability. However, today there has been a significant shift. Organisations are increasingly focused on developing strategies that ensure not only survival, but also long-term success by embedding sustainability into their core operations. If we view an organisation as a living system, then it must be able to change and adapt in response to its environment. This perspective demands that organisations move away from a narrow emphasis on the bottom line and instead adopt a more fluid and flexible approach. Such adaptability allows them to nurture creativity and innovation, both of which are essential for meeting the evolving demands of sustainability and ensuring resilience in a changing world. Please see Aula for Activity 2, which is looking at Vinted. Sustainable leaders are long-term, holistic thinkers. They see the environment not as an afterthought, but as an integral part of their business, and they prioritise sustainability in everything they do. These leaders are comfortable with complexity. They can balance the demands of stakeholders, politics, policies, shareholder needs, the law, and natural systems, sometimes all at once. Increasingly, we see boardrooms prioritising environmental frameworks, reflecting this shift in leadership priorities. Much like fluid organisations, sustainable leaders are also fluid in nature. They can adapt and change, but always with an eye toward their influence on future generations. At the heart of their role is the ability to inspire and support action towards building a better world. Importantly, sustainable leaders do not just think in financial terms. They consider the broader environmental and social impacts of their decisions. They aim to minimise their footprint while demonstrating responsible business practices and awareness of the influence they can have through their leadership. And they lead by example. This can be seen in simple but powerful choices, such as eating organically, using public transport, or committing to other sustainable habits that signal their values. Values, after all, underpin everything. They shape an organisation's principles, influence decision-making, and set the foundation for ethical conduct. Sustainable leaders embody and reinforce these values in practice. Finally, transparency is key. These leaders must clearly communicate their efforts to stakeholders. By being open about what they are doing, they build trust and help drive meaningful change. For stakeholders, this transparency also provides reassurance about the long-term viability of the organisation. In 2015, the United Nations adopted a landmark plan of action, Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. At the core of this agenda are the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. These goals are supported by 169 specific targets and 232 measurable indicators, which together provide a global framework for action. The SDGs are intentionally interconnected. They're designed not just as individual goals, but as a system that works together to tackle some of the world's most pressing challenges. Ultimately, the purpose of the SDGs is clear: to end poverty, to protect the planet, and to ensure prosperity for all people by the year 2030. Today I'll be discussing the 5 Ps of sustainable leadership, a framework that captures the essential elements leaders need to drive sustainability within organisations and society as a whole. The framework is built around 5 interconnected principles: people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. Each of these highlights a vital area where leadership plays the transformative role in achieving sustainable outcomes. The first pillar, people, places human well-being at the centre of sustainable leadership. It's about valuing diversity, fostering inclusivity, and empowering employees. Sustainable leaders create supportive environments where individuals can thrive, both personally and professionally. The second element, planet, focuses on environmental stewardship. Leaders have a responsibility to make decisions that minimise harm to the environment, reducing pollution, conserving resources, and embedding sustainable practices throughout their operations and supply chains. The third P is prosperity. Sustainable leadership doesn't reject profit, it redefines it. The goal is to create shared prosperity that is equitable and enduring, generating financial success that benefits employees, communities, and future generations. The fourth pillar, peace, reminds us that sustainability cannot exist in the absence of social justice and stability. Leaders must promote fairness, equity, and dialogue, working to prevent conflict and build cohesive, peaceful communities within and beyond their organisations. And finally, partnership. No leader or organisation can achieve sustainability alone. This principle calls for collaboration across sectors, industries, and communities, forming networks of shared learning and collective action to address complex global challenges. To conclude, the 5 Ps of sustainable leadership, people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership, offer a holistic framework for leading responsibly and effectively in a rapidly changing world. Together, they remind us that sustainable leadership is not just about doing less harm. It's about creating more good. I'll be discussing the 5 principles of eco-sensitive leadership, which together offer a holistic approach to environmental stewardship within organisational contexts. First and foremost, eco-sensitive leaders recognise that organisations are living systems, dynamic entities interconnected with the natural world and requiring adaptability to thrive. This perspective encourages leaders to view their organisations not as isolated machines, but as part of a larger ecological network that must remain balanced and resilient. Secondly, these leaders shift the focus from simple profit maximisation to a triple bottom line approach, one that equally values social, environmental, and economic impacts. Success in this sense is not measured solely by financial gain, but by the organisation's contribution to people and the planet as well. The third principle emphasises flexibility and fluidity. Eco-sensitive leaders understand that both business environments and ecological systems are constantly changing. They embrace adaptability, responding to new challenges, market shifts, and environmental disruptions with agility and foresight. Fourth, these leaders nurture creativity and innovation as essential tools for sustainability. They encourage experimentation, support green innovation, and foster a culture where new ideas can flourish, all in pursuit of solutions that minimize harm and create long-term ecological value. Finally, eco-sensitive leadership involves accepting the business world as an integral part of the natural world. Rather than viewing nature as a resource to be exploited, these leaders recognize interdependence and strive to operate in harmony with ecological principles, understanding that sustainable success depends on maintaining the health of the ecosystems that support us all. In summary, the 5 principles of eco-sensitive leadership, recognizing organizations as living systems, prioritizing the triple bottom line, embracing flexibility, nurturing innovation, and aligning with nature, together form a comprehensive guide for leading responsibly in an age where environmental awareness is not optional, but essential. Today, I'll be discussing several key frameworks that have shaped our understanding of sustainable leadership, each offering a different perspective on how leaders can balance economic success with social and environmental responsibility. We begin with people, planet, and profit, also known as the triple bottom line. Proposed by Elkington in 1994, this model urges organizations to move beyond financial performance and consider their broader social and environmental impacts. It challenges leaders to measure success not just by profit, but by how their decisions affect people and the planet. Next, we have Slanky's 10 Pillars of Sustainable Leadership from 2006. This framework identifies 10 critical areas where leaders can drive sustainability, including stakeholder engagement, systems thinking, and the cultivation of a long-term vision. Together, these pillars provide a comprehensive structure for embedding sustainability across all levels of leadership and decision-making. The 5 Ps of sustainable leadership, drawn from the United Nations 2030 Agenda, further expand this idea. The 5 Ps, people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership, represent the core dimensions required to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. They remind leaders that sustainability involves interconnected priorities that must be pursued collectively. Another influential model is green transformational leadership, developed by Chen and Chang in 2013. This approach emphasizes leaders who inspire and motivate others to adopt environmentally friendly practices and values. Green transformational leaders serve as role models, fostering a shared vision of ecological responsibility throughout their organizations. Moving on, responsible leadership, as defined by Mack and Pless in 2006, centers on ethical and transparent decision-making. It requires leaders to consider the broader impacts of their actions on society and the environment, building trust and accountability while balancing the needs of multiple stakeholders. Finally, Bansal and Roth's 4 Core Values framework highlights environmental stewardship, social responsibility, employee empowerment, and customer satisfaction. So, how do we measure sustainable leadership? While sustainability is often seen as a values-driven concept, scholars and practitioners have developed several frameworks and tools to assess it in more structured and measurable ways. One such tool is the Sustainable Leadership Questionnaire, developed by Farouk and Ibrahim in 2017. This instrument includes 23 questions designed to evaluate 4 key dimensions of sustainable leadership: staff capacity building, diversity, maintenance, and strategic leadership allocation. It provides a practical means of identifying how leaders promote long-term growth, inclusivity, and stability within their organizations. Another approach is the Sustainable Leadership Pyramid, or SLP. This research-based framework outlines 23 leadership practices distributed across 5 key performance areas: economic, social, environmental, cultural, and governance. The SLP helps organisations not only assess their sustainability performance, but also pinpoint specific areas for improvement. It emphasises a balanced perspective that connects leadership behaviours with measurable sustainability outcomes. We also have the Sustainable Leadership Model, which identifies 5 core dimensions: purpose, values, engagement, collaboration, and learning. This model offers a holistic view of sustainable leadership by linking individual transformation with organisational change. It highlights how authentic values and continuous learning drive meaningful engagement and long-term success. However, these tools raise deeper philosophical and practical questions. Should we standardise sustainability? Can leadership that is deeply contextual and values-driven truly be reduced to a set of measurable indicators? Some argue that measurement risks stifling creativity and innovation, turning what should be a moral and adaptive process into a bureaucratic exercise. Others counter that, without measurement, accountability becomes difficult and progress hard to track. Finally, it's worth noting that even in the corporate world, sustainability metrics are gaining prominence. For example, the Dow Jones Sustainability Index uses extensive data to measure and rank business sustainability across industries. This reflects a growing recognition that sustainability, whether in turbulent economic conditions, traditional notions of leadership effectiveness, those that focus solely on organisational values and inward-looking metrics, are no longer sufficient. When leadership success is measured only by profit or internal performance, it overlooks the broader societal and environmental dimensions that define sustainability. The old metaphor of the organisation as a machine, with the leader as the driver, mechanic or engineer, is too narrow. It excludes the wider community and fails to address the balance of outcomes captured in the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. Transitioning to sustainable practices often demands profound change management. This includes shifts in mindset, culture, processes, and technologies. Leaders must manage these transitions effectively, overcoming resistance, inspiring commitment, and engaging employees to adopt new, more sustainable ways of working. Of course, resistance to change is inevitable. It can come from entrenched business models, skeptical stakeholders, or simply a lack of understanding about sustainability's benefits. Sustainable leaders must be skilled communicators, capable of building coalitions, fostering trust, and articulating a clear vision that connects sustainability to long-term success. Another major challenge lies in uncertainty and risk. Sustainability issues often involve unpredictable factors, such as regulatory changes, market volatility, and shifting social expectations. Effective sustainable leaders must be adaptable and forward-thinking, able to make informed decisions in complex, fast-changing environments, while maintaining a long-term perspective. Measurement and reporting also pose significant challenges. Tracking sustainability performance requires accurate data, standardized frameworks, and transparent reporting. Leaders must ensure their organizations can gather, analyze, and communicate this information credibly, not just to satisfy compliance requirements, but to demonstrate genuine progress and accountability. Then there are resource limitations. sustainable initiatives frequently require substantial investments in capital, technology, and human expertise. Leaders need to balance short-term financial pressure. Please see Activity 3 on Vinted. You can also feel free to utilise the YouTube link below. While there are undoubtedly challenges to implementing sustainable leadership, there are also effective ways to navigate them, beginning at the individual level, as noted by Tiedemann and colleagues in 2013. The personal values of leaders are a powerful source of influence, shaping how they work, make decisions, and engage with others. These values become embedded in leadership style and, over time, help shape the broader organisational culture. Leaders, therefore, must find the right balance between situational awareness, understanding the dynamic context in which they operate, and personal resolve, staying grounded in their core principles and ethical commitments. In doing so, they can respond effectively to the disruptive and transformational changes reshaping business and society today. By recognising these shifts, leaders are better positioned to translate change into tangible economic and stakeholder impact, while ensuring that such actions remain aligned with their organisation's purpose and mission. Addressing the complexities of sustainability requires visionary, ethical, and adaptable leadership. Such leaders balance the interests of multiple stakeholders, embrace innovation, and champion sustainability as a strategic priority rather than a peripheral concern. They see sustainability not as a constraint, but as an opportunity to reimagine success, one rooted in long-term value and shared prosperity. Finally, effective sustainable leadership depends on continuous learning and engagement with the evolving sustainability landscape. As global challenges and societal expectations shift, leaders must remain open, reflective, and responsive. When leaders manage to balance sustainability ideals with decisive corporate action, they unlock the true potential of transformational change, creating lasting value for organisations, communities, and the planet alike.